What was once the Polk County Courthouse now serves as the Polk History Center and houses the Historical Museum and Library. The museum serves Polk's community through special events, volunteer opportunities, and educational programs. The museum exhibits and programs continue to grow and change as new information and artifacts become available. More details are coming up next on Polk Place. I'm Tina Mann, the host of Polk Place, and joining me in the studio today is Jamie Jamison, the Curator of Education and Programming for the Polk County History Center. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Happy New Year.
I'm excited to see you on the program again. We had a lot of fun last time.
Yes.
So you've been here a while now. How are you liking it?
Yeah, it's been about 6 months, and it's been really great. You know, we've kind of had an evolution of programming and opportunities, really wonderful opportunities at the History Center. Some great ideas have come up for the new year, and we're looking forward to a whole new set of programming.
And I'm excited to talk with them about you. And I know that one of the big focuses, especially the beginning part of this year, is the history of the 10th Judicial Circuit and the exhibits and the programming involved with that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, when I started back in June, we had the great opportunity to sit down with Judge Mary Catherine Green and talk a little bit about the history of the 10th Judicial Circuit and going beyond archiving the information to sharing and interpreting the information. And part of that involved the Journeys in Justice program that we started with our Polk County schools. Another part of that involved trying to figure out a way to store and provide the information so that it's accessible to anybody that wanted to research the history of the courts, and then to interpreting and sharing. And that's what we've really been working on the past few months. Luann Mims, our research historian, and I have been researching judges, and we've been working with Maria and Murtis on creating some new panels for the 1908 courtroom. So it has been we've learned a lot about the judges and a lot about the division of the circuit court through the Florida Constitution, and we're looking forward to sharing it with everyone.
And we recently had the exhibit open, so now people who haven't been to the courthouse or to that part of the courthouse in a while would be a little bit surprised by the transformation. Why don't you tell me what they can expect now? Yeah,
it's been really great. You know, all of December we've kind of had people come in and they've seen the exhibit layout and they've said, you know, what's going in there? So to have it finally in place now is awesome, and it's really three elements. Well, 4 technically. So you start with the courtroom itself, which if you've never been in the 1908 courtroom, it's not only a beautiful example of neoclassical architecture, but you really get that open feeling of the Republican form of government, that we're not having our courts behind closed doors, that it's open and fair and equal. And so that's in there, and that's beautiful. What we have added are 2 interpretive panels, and they're kiosks. And what they do is they explain the role of the court, the judicial branch in our government system. And one of our favorite elements of it is there's actually a picture of our courtroom, and we've overlaid some of the different people that are in the courtroom. So you have the jury, you have the attorneys, the judge, the court reporter, and so children or people that have not interacted with the courts can figure out, okay, so this is how it would be laid out. And so we're super excited about those as being interpretive educational tools for when children come in. The other element that we've been really working on, so Murtis and I kind of like to call it old museum, new museum. So old museum, you walk into a room and there's a bunch of pictures on the wall, and picture, name, and that's not very dynamic. So what we have put together is a digital kiosk where you can access the different judges that have served in the courtroom, and you can access them alphabetically or chronologically, and you can determine from there who they were, where they came from, some anecdotal stories about some of them. Some of them had very colorful histories. They were lively men, and you can find out kind of how they came into the court system. Some of the earlier ones we look at, you know, we think of judges have going to law school, being members of the bar, but some of the earliest ones, you know, they learned law on their own. They studied in offices of other lawyers, but they didn't go to a formal school, and so you can kind of follow that progression as you go through. And then our third exhibit, you can't speak about the history of the judicial branch or law or anything Polk County government without reflecting on Spessard Holland.
Right.
And we're super excited to have this exhibit in the 1908 courtroom because it ties in who Spessard Holland was as Polk County's statesman. You know, most of what he did, if not all of what he did, came from his influence or his understanding of what the people of Polk County, Greater Florida, Greater Nation, needed. And so we're really excited to share who he was, as well as the artifacts that include presidential pens signed or used by Eisenhower, JFK, and Johnson to sign various acts, laws, and the 24th Amendment, of which Spessard was a part of.
Sounds good. And this is all a permanent exhibit?
Yes, ma'am. This is all permanent exhibit. The 1908 courtroom is a permanent exhibit gallery now. It is going to be added onto and continuously preserved, but the exhibits are in place from now until eternity.
That's awesome. Continuing kind of on the theme of the courts, you had mentioned that, you know, last time we talked about Journeys in Justice. Why don't you give everybody a reminder as to what that program is?
Yes, Journeys in Justice is our programming that's featuring the interpretation of the courts in Polk County and also in Florida. We're very fortunate to have received a grant from the GiveWell Community Foundation. It's out of their George Jenkins Fund. And with that, we've been able to provide to the Polk County schools school buses and substitute teachers for 7th grade students to come over to the History Center. This month, I'm so excited, we're going to be having the Don Woods Opportunity Center as well as Roosevelt Academy come to visit us and take a tour of the museum, but also go up into the courtroom, and I give them little assignments. And so one of the kids might draw the judge card, and they're going to go stand at the judge's bench. And you know, they'll see on there, I'm the judge, this is what I do. And someone will be the attorney, I'm the attorney, I'm the defense attorney, this is what I do. And then we'll go into the 1926 courtroom, which of course has been updated with technological elements, and we're going to do an activity on the 14th Amendment. And it's just a great opportunity for them to come and see that the judicial branch is real. It's not just a bunch of words in the U.S. Constitution or the Florida Constitution, that it exists and that it's part of our history. When we look at that building, we look at those courtrooms, you're seeing the foundations of the county. And so we're really excited about the student involvement. And then for the adults, we have some upcoming programming, including an evening with Bruce Jacob, who argued on behalf of the state of Florida in the Supreme Court case Gideon versus Wainwright. So we're getting ready to start advertising that and putting that out into the community.
That's always exciting. And
yes.
You've been a busy girl since you started. I mean, we've revamped the Family Fun Day for your curators of curiosity. Why don't you tell us what people can expect from that?
Yep, so we had our Family Fun Day, and the idea when we transitioned to Curators of Curiosity is pretty much the same. We wanted to provide programming that is friendly for parents and children when they come into the History Center that they can do together. And Murtis and I kind of sat around and we had an aha moment where we realized that families probably do activities together more than just on one Saturday a month. So we've transitioned into Curators of Curiosity, which is a monthly program activity in the Children's Discovery Room that can be accessed throughout the month. And so each month it can change from, you know, like say January this month, we're looking at Morse code, Samuel Morse, and then next month we'll be looking at profiles in Polk. So we'll be looking at individuals or people from Polk County. And then March we'll get into baseball and so on and so forth. For this month's activity, it's really great. We've got a little telegraph key on the table so they can practice tapping out Morse code and an alphabet. And they're going to translate some coded words, and then they get to write their own name in Morse. And that activity part of it coincides to some of the information that we've made available for the parents to share. Because one of the things that's important about a child's experience in a museum is the social interaction with the adults or the other children that are there. And so what this one does talks about how the telegraph came to Polk County, and the fact that the telegraph came to Polk County before it came to Hillsborough or Tampa. And so Fort Meade and Bartow were quite the envy of the community in Tampa that had to rely on us for their news. And talks a little bit about Lake Wire in Lakeland, which I'm not going to give away, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's an interesting correlation between the naming of that lake and the telegraph lines coming through Polk. So it's really a way for them to month-long experience some of that history and get a chance to interact, you know, moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas with the children. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and of course with January means that Lunch and Learns have resumed, and we have quite the lineup this year. Why don't you tell us next couple months what we can expect?
We do. I went out there and I tried to find some varying topics. And we're kicking off January with Brenda Eubanks Burnett, and she's going to come talk to us about citrus labels. One of the big elements of our mission this year is going to revolve around citrus labels and sharing the citrus industry with Polk County. And so she's going to come in, she's going to talk about what we call Florida's first billboards, those beautiful labels that were on the side of crates. And again, kind of going back to Luann, our research historian, she kind of went into the deep history of the citrus labels and the idea that the colorful labels were to help buyers that went into the warehouses distinguish, okay, this is the fruit I want from that fruit, from this fruit, and then they would end up in the grocery stores. So she's going to come and share a little bit of information that maybe we don't know about some of the artists that made those labels, some of the families that were associated with the labels, and we're going to have a coinciding exhibit in the South Activity Room, which is right behind where we do our Lunch and Learns, displaying some of those labels. And so that's for January. February, we're very excited to have Dr. Cantor Brown come down and talk about Spessard Holland. So we're going to pull that Spessard Holland theme back in because his significance can't be overstated. Right. And in March, Doris Weatherford, who authored books on women's history. She did one called Women Who Dared to Dream, Florida Women Who Shaped History, and she's going to come in and talk to us a little bit about some of the women that played a significant role in Florida's history. And then we'll kind of get right into the rest of the year, but it's a great lineup.
It really is, and I'm looking forward to seeing that exhibit because, you know, me and my design and my creativity, I like to see things like that. I know that you are also working on sometime this year revamping the architectural tour.
Yes, we have been working on the architectural tour. You know, what's fascinating about the architectural tour is that it appeals to history buffs, it appeals to architects, architectural buffs, and it also appeals to just people that are actually going through their own preservation process with their historic homes. We already have had one architectural tour this month, and two of the people on the tour were very interested in elements that they had seen in their own home in Polk County. And so we're revamping that to kind of provide everyone with a guide in front of them that they can look at some of the old archival photographs from the opening of the courthouse and then get into some of the details on the top of the building. They're a little difficult to see from ground floor. So we're really excited about continuing that, especially right now since the weather has turned so nice, not so humid out anymore. We're expecting a few more people out at the tours. And then in addition to that, the tour for the Oak Hill Cemetery has really enjoyed quite an evolution where we go out there and we don't just look at the graves, we look at the people, the correlation to the county's history, and the evolution of the cemetery itself from being part of a private property into city-owned, and then the continued preservation of it.
You've been a busy girl.
I try, I do. I keep busy, and we have a lot of fun over there, so that's important too.
You do? Well, thank you for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
2016 is going to be an exciting year for the History Center as their programs continue to evolve and new exhibits are introduced. The museum's collection includes natural and cultural objects related to Polk and the greater Central Florida area that represent our history from pre-Columbian to present-day eras. The artifacts on display at the museum represent individuals, cultural groups, and events significant to the region. Located at 100 East Main Street in Bartow, the History Center is open Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. For more information about exhibits and events, you can check them out on the web at polkhistorycenter.org or give them a call at 863-534-4386.